Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Housecast.
Oh no,
Lowerhouse.
we haven't started yet, Jez. I was just starting the recording, just in general.
Yeah,
We got
no, but
to wait till everyone else is here.
it's 8 o'clock, Joe.
Yeah, but it's all right.
It's not.
Can I introduce you please to Maggie's famous pie and peas? We appear to have lost one. Where the is Rusty gone?
Welcome, everybody, to the Housecast, Lowerhouse Cricket Club's podcast. We're a bit stuck for time this evening, but we were desperate to get this episode in because we have been accused previously of you only pod when you're winning. But we got beat on Sunday, and it was such a great game. And for what has happened on Saturday as well, and the way the seconds have been playing, we decided to record one.
And for this podcast, Jez, we're only going to discuss the Norden game.
Yeah, we can discuss that as well.
Maybe only that one.
Yeah. Well, no. We'll discuss everything. So we wanted to get started. Unfortunately, a couple of the co-hosts are late, but they are on now. But we've only got 45 minutes, so we need to cram a lot in. So, hiya, Dooch.
Hello, Jez. You okay?
Yeah. All okay?
Which host is late?
Well, you were 1 minute late, and Gary were 1.5 minutes late.
Yeah.
And Gav's not even here yet. He'll still be out either walking his dog or having a siesta. But thanks for joining. Joe Martin, you okay?
Hi, Jez. Yeah, I'm terrific, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Yeah, I've had a lovely tea. The weather's great since I got back, and doing quite a bit in the garden.
And what did you have for tea?
It was like a chicken supreme type thing with roast potatoes.
Lovely. Delightful.
Yeah, we're nice. Gary, great to see you. Thank you very much for dialing in.
You're welcome, Jeremy. Good to see
lad.
you all.
Yeah, and you. I'm sorry about pushing this on, but I do believe we've got so much to discuss, and like I said, we've 45 minutes to do it. Before we go into the cricket, etc., thanks everyone, all you listeners out there, for your fantastic feedback with regard recent podcasts. Not only the Morehouse one with Fran and Grace and Bethany, but the other podcasts. We had a chat at weekend. Me and Dooch were wandering around the ground and then sat with some really good people, ex-players, and they said they're really enjoying it. So that's good for us because we can carry on and we enjoy doing it if people are listening. So thanks to everyone. So let's move on to the cricket. What a game on Sunday. We're going to go into it as deep as we can and talk about how it happened. Me and Dooch sat together and watched it and saw how it unfolded. I'm sure Gary followed it from afar, but I think I'd like to go to Joe Martin first and just talk about the game in general, how it was from a player's perspective, so then we can give our input as to how we saw it from spectators and fans. How did it go, Joe, on Sunday against Littleborough?
I think it was a really good game to begin with. High scoring, which is what you want. I think that I thought they batted pretty well. We put them under a little bit of pressure at different times in their innings, and they also batted well and put some good partnerships together. But we still managed to bowl them out, which was great. Obviously, we started really well in our innings. Ben and Johnny had a great start, and Henry followed that on. We had a little bit of a wobble in that middle order, which happens, and we just couldn't quite get over the line in the end. But still, lots of positives to take from that game. I think in previous years, if a team had probably got 230, I think we might have maybe scraped to 160, 170, just trying to stay in the game. But I think the way that we went about it meant that we gave it a good run in the end.
I agree. Hiya, Gav, you all right, pal?
How are we doing? Yeah, sorry, gents. Just lost track of time there. Sorry.
It's all right, no problem. No, we're getting into it. We've only got 40 or 50 minutes of recording time today, Gav, for a few reasons.
Yeah,
So we're just straight into the cricket.
good
You know,
stuff.
very briefly, Joe's just talked us through the players' side from the Littleborough game.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Duke to comment as to how he felt the game went and just his experience of the occasion. But before I do that, again, it sounds like a stuck record, this, but the pitch and the outfield and the whole ground in general, it's amazing. The way it looks, the colour of it, the way it's cut, the way it plays, which is obviously the most important thing, is an absolute credit to Stan and Dave and Roger and the team. So thanks very much, because that does create games like we saw on Sunday. Yeah, we got beaten, we're all gutted, but it produces good cricket pitches for good cricket players. So thanks very much to that group who maintained that. I know the weather's good for us at the moment, but let's see when it starts raining. Dooch, talk us through your viewing of the game and how you felt it went and what could have maybe been done differently.
I thought obviously the position, the platform that we were giving ourselves was fantastic, very aggressive, very positive, and watching it, I thought the Littleborough side didn't know whether they were coming or going. Really, I thought we put them under so much pressure. It just looked like it was going to be one-way traffic for the rest of the innings. There was a couple of odd bowling changes that we couldn't really fathom out when we were watching it. The pro came on and went off again, and to me it looked like they were struggling, Littleborough. But then obviously we lost a few wickets, probably just at the wrong times. Once we lost Ben and Henry, we never really sort of recovered from that. We didn't really get another partnership for the rest of the innings until right at the very end. By which time it was probably too late. If we could have just eked that out, sort of 10 overs earlier, we might have been okay. But unfortunately, all the momentum was with Littleborough, and we couldn't really wrest it back. But just to echo Joe's point, I mean, what did we finish with? 6 points. Yeah, so we got 6 points for that on Sunday, which obviously, we're disappointed that we lost, of course. But if you look at bonus point tables from previous years where we've done well in the league but not well enough, our bonus points tally has been way down. And obviously on Sunday we showed that we could get close to their score, a big score. And that obviously earned us a few extra points. So whilst it was disappointing, I don't think it was a disaster by any stretch.
And it is a point I was going to go on to, Joe, around bonus points. I don't know why and it seems to be almost a decade or two, we don't seem that bothered. It's either win or lose, and Burnley are experts at it, and other clubs in achieving bonus points, which just sneak an extra position, sometimes a championship. Was that in the players' mind, Joe?
No. I mean, I think that certainly in the first innings, our plan is, I think in previous years it's probably been, contain, try and control the game. I think now we're actively trying to take 10 wickets and finding a way to do that. So I think that's one side of it, making sure that we do our best to bowl teams out. And it wasn't really discussed on Sunday. I think it's more a kind of awareness amongst everybody that if you take the game, the full distance, you're more likely to, the closer you are,
Yeah, and I suppose that psychologically, and obviously Dan's into that big style. To start talking at the interval, let's make sure we get to here and then we get 5 points, 6 points, or whatever. Then that's probably counterproductive. But you could see at the end, it was such a close game. I was convinced we were going to win. When we were 7, 8, 9 down. I don't know why. I just had a good feeling, but I still thought we were going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did.
Yeah.
And we've all played in enough games where it can swing either way, can't it? I mean, just take the cup final last year.
Yeah, exactly.
It can swing in your favour, or it doesn't quite go. So
yeah,
one of those games, it's worst thing.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. Then again, what else? And I'll come on to you in a minute, Gav, just to because I know you were there watching the whole game. I just felt we just got that little edge all the time. Charlie was so intense, so on it that he wasn't going to get out. I'm going to get there and get win this. And I know what Duke just said there about their bowling. I don't think they did it on purpose, but I think it worked. They'd obviously realised they had to get rid of another over from the car park end, and that's why they brought the lad on the right arm. I think he was an off spinner, but he did okay. Was that the time to go after him? With I think there was 4 overs to go or not. Again, it's down to Charlie, it's down to the skipper and the batters. But that's why, since it's, I was gutted on Sunday night, but since I thought about it and looking back on it, it wasn't a case that they smashed us or anything. We got 6 points, they got 12. Who knows at the end of the season? There's lots of cricket to go. We don't start counting our chickens now before they've even hatched. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Gav, from a spectators, you're having some good crack with some of your own muckers. How did you see the game?
First and foremost, I thought it was a really good game of cricket. Both sides, some good players on shore, and everybody were glued to it right to the end. It was disappointing to lose, but I think that's the division that we're in. I think it's full of good sides, it's good cricket, and I think without trying to be clever, I think it won't be the last time that teams lose a game that they probably should win, and vice versa. I think that's just the nature of a very good division. We've got a lot of experience in our team and a lot of good players, as of other teams. I, like you, thought we were going to win it, and Joe said all players did. But we come out with we come out with 6 points. We go again.
Yeah, I agree. Gaz, did you watch much of it? Did you follow it online, or were you just twittering? Hey, Gaz, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry.
That's better.
Yeah, I caught quite a bit of it. Mostly second half, dipped in and out first innings. So obviously 300 miles away. I rely on you guys to say, tracks are, playing well, etc., etc. I can't get a feel of the vibe and the atmosphere and all that sort of thing. But just purely the tunnel vision of YouTube showing like the middle third of the ground, it was enjoyable. I couldn't take myself away from it. There were a lot of other sport going on, weren't there? And and I found myself glued to that more than the other stuff. I think the immediate thing is obviously that the disappointment to losing is, given the approach that Ben's been clear about. He wants to sort of tear this year. You're probably going to get a few who instantly just jump on that bandwagon and no, we can't play. It's going to and have a good moan about stuff. That's folly, because I think there was everybody looked on it there. It did look good. Great start, as people have said. I sense Henry got a little bit frustrated, not turning the score over a little bit, but there'll be plenty of people. I'm so made up. We've got a young lad there at batting number 3, looking the part, holding that position down, and and that's the policy going forward. We're going to be far better off for it, and he's got so much experience around him who'll help him through the incidents like that, or and he'll be better for it. And he seemed a level-headed kid, so hopefully that's great for the future. Yeah, we lost 5 for 20 odd in that middle spell. And then, but I just thought Chaz and Paddy were going to, see it right over the line. So, one of those things. Like I say, there'll be a few naysayers, no doubt, around the place who have a bit of a whinge of it. But I'd watch cricket like that every week. Obviously not hoping we lose them all, but you know what I mean. Great games of good quality. And funny when you said that, Dooch, but from afar it looked like, I thought, oh, their skipper he's made some bowling changes here that at times like paid off with things. But if you say they look like they were a bit clueless, then maybe he just got lucky. But from where I was, it just seemed how things unfolded that I thought, oh, he's not, he's maybe on it here. He's saved some overs, or he's tried to break a partnership or whatever. But so it's funny how you get that different perspective.
Yeah,
So,
and look, you might be right, Gary. I just, to me, they look like they were scratching their heads. Not. I'm talking about metaphorically. I didn't actually physically see him scratching his head, but they did look like when we were still only 2 down, when Henry and Ben were going. To me, it looked like they were, almost throwing the dice because they were out of ideas. That's how it looked to me. But I could be doing them a disservice.
No, you've got the full perspective being there, so I'll defer to you on that one. But yeah, so a bit disappointed at the end of it, but like I say, I think we'll win far many than we lose. With that positive approach, and okay, good. We've come out with bonus points, and I think it's finding those boundaries, isn't it? Literally and metaphorically, but just of how far to push it and when just to sort of, right, okay, we're in control, stay in control, and everything else. So, I've no concerns really. I'm sure that Ben's all over it and Pro's all over it.
Thanks, Gaz. And I want to stop with this game. We will go through the other games, and I really want to talk about the second team of how well they've done. But I'm going to throw it out there, and I'd like Joe Martin, if you can either comment or just let the listeners think. Yeah, you're right, Ben and Johnny. So positive. The pitch was so true. They were hitting through the ball and playing very well. I thought Johnny's was a poor shot. I think before that they played a lot of good, positive cricket, but it was sensible. I thought Johnny seems to lose a bit of concentration, and then for some reason, when that's happening, Ben's going mental on the pitch. I think I've heard that the ball hadn't come back. Is that right, Joe?
Well, yeah. So Ben had hit a drive.
Yeah.
This isn't hyperbole. The hardest I've ever seen a ball hit in my life.
Right.
I'm being deadly serious. It absolutely laced it.
Yeah.
And it rocketed into the groundsman's hut.
Yeah.
We must have spent half an hour, 45 minutes looking for the ball, and we just couldn't find it. So obviously, do you then get a spare ball that's already a little bit softer, and it'll get softer quicker than the one that was lost. So again, just one of those things, and it happens. So yeah.
Because the ball went into the park as well, didn't it, at one stage? Because I was sat with Johnny Russell and we saw quite a very old man jumping over the wall to fetch it back. I don't think he had a walking stick, but he was very old. This chap who was climbing over the wall to get the ball from the park.
Have you checked up how he is, Joe, since he went?
We can do it now. Jez, how are you doing?
Right, well, I mean, I've two things to come in here. We'll come back to the groundsman's up. It's very important. Gary used to teach me this when he was the captain, that when you're batting, the harder the ball, the better it is. When you're bowling, the softer the ball. The two openers, Ben and Johnny, are whacking into the park. It's clear that there's some quite elderly men looking over the wall and can see the ball but can't get it. And when I talk elderly, we're talking late 80s, probably mid 90s. Johnny Russell and Joe Beneducci are sat about 5 metres away, just sat on the fat arses, having a big cup of tea and a can of pop and not going to get the ball. So I saw me backside and thought, right, well, I'll go and get it. And I jumped over the wall and I didn't realise how far it was. So it's about 3 foot on the ground side and about 6 foot on the other side. But I survived. I threw the ball back and we continued to smash them everywhere. But then it took me 20 minutes to get back over the wall. And I walked past these two clowns and they were both giggling their head off. But I've got to say, I've never heard Duke say this. He actually said, and I think he meant it, I do feel a little bit bad now. I don't know if he meant it or not, but anyway, the groundsman's hook thing, Joe, I accept what you're saying, but you were all looking for it. Because it was a soft ball, didn't get Johnny Whited out.
No. That's not what I was trying to provide context to.
Yeah.
And as I say, I was looking for the ball, so I didn't see Johnny.
Yeah.
Didn't see Johnny now. And again, it's the game of decisions, right?
Of course it is, and that's why I think it's important that we discuss this realistically and we critique the game, because this is what people want to listen to. I'm not doing things to be outrageous for the sake of being outrageous, but I do think Johnny, and when he went off, I'm sure he thought that was a poor shot. I've played so well this game, and Ben's going like a train. Henry came in, and I know what you're saying, Gaz, but Henry there, he looked as accomplished as I've seen him. He looked it was his time. He was, they're a good side at Littleborough. There's no dummies who were bowling, and he was working it, moving around and hitting good, cover drives.
No, I agree, Jess. His innings up to that last over, I don't know how long he was stuck on 20 or 29, whatever he got. But up to that point, again, no issues. Batting with Ben, thought he looked in good nick and everything. I don't know what it was. It was just that period where he seemed to like trying to work some singles straight to a fielder, going for a run, getting sent back, something like that. Whether it was just, again, I can't tell from this distance, but whether it just he got a little bit frustrated and then just tried that shot. And, anyway.
I think it is. And probably a little bit of experience required and a bit frustrated, but I just had it set. Henry's going to end up anything between 60 and 80 not out. The rest of the team back around him and get the 150 that they need and win it. So there is certainly no criticism there, but you could see the game change slightly when Dan came in because of Tom Walker and Charlie Gansler's dismissals. And their pro, I thought, did a fantastic job, certainly on Charlie, and again, it's not something that I want to debate here. I thought the umpiring was good. There was pressure certainly from the pro, and some of the other Littleborough players. I mean, the wicketkeeper, I don't know him at all, Matt Hernan, but he looked like a Ron Blue Smarties. I've never seen anyone run around and be jumping up and down and shouting and screaming. He's a bit like Frank in his days when he'd come back full of whatever. But so it was pressure, and I do accept that Charlie Gansler, first ball smashes it for 4 over long on, but then gets a little bit tied down. Their pro has 2. I'm at long on, so I can't say whether they're out or not, but 2 really big shouts for LB. And then the third ball bowls him. Now, as a bowler, I'd have been saying to umpire, those last 2 were hitting wickets as well. And it's pressure. You know, it's legitimate pressure, is that? And then, you know, I just found it was interesting, Dan's body language, Joe. I don't know if that much was said afterwards, but when Charlie was out, and obviously Tom had been out just before that, again bowled by their pro, he seemed to be leaning on his back thinking, right, this is going to go the distance now. Was much said about that, and obviously I know you can't give away tactics, but was much said about that short period of those 5 or 6 overs?
No, not really. It was it. I think there's something I think the players in the team have played long enough to kind of know and learn from different experiences.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, when we were, you know, 15 and 16, we likely needed to be told about certain situations, about when things happen. This is where we need to go. These are pretty experienced. I know they're young, but they're experienced first team cricketers.
Yeah.
And again, they're aware of what they want to do, and the kind of choices, and they'll learn from that to think, you know, is there something I can do differently there? You know, did I not quite execute what I wanted to quite right?
Yeah.
And they'll think about that. They'll think about that themselves, and then, you know, they'll be better for that experience throughout the season. So
Yeah, and that is perfect, you know, description of how things will move on from that. It was just, you know, he's gone from, even when they were batting, you know, the ball's flying around, there's a lot of pace in it, the outfield's quick, and then all of a sudden we've got Dan and I know Charlie, they didn't stop in together long, but it was clear that the game plan had changed completely. This had turned on its head, and rightly so. And then unfortunately, and obviously this is a game changer, but I didn't think it would be a match winner. But when Dan got caught and bowled, it was a fantastic catch.
yeah,
You know, he's a great take that lad Wilman's done, and you can see Dan's gone off and thinking, you know, he wanted to be there right at the end. And with all respect, if he's batting with you, you know, or Hawkey or Paddy or Toxie, you're going to stick with him, and we would have won the game if that hadn't have happened, without a doubt. And I still think we would. And so when I'm walking around the ground, Dan sat up at the top at square leg on his own, just sat on a bench, didn't want to speak to anyone. So he knew what had happened there. But that's, you know, and I think the way Charlie was mindset was that it had all changed there. You know, I just feel, and again, I could be here to shot down. It's a little bit like the Brendan McCullum and Stokes. This is the way we play. This is where we're not going to change. I'll have it all day long. And as Gary said, I love watching that cricket. You know, but sometimes there's little moments that just change the game. Going to move on to the.
Sorry, just one point, Jez. Just a question for Joe Martin, because I didn't see a whole lot of the first innings, but there were 21 wides and we lost by 16 runs. I'm not saying the wides were, but what was it, moving around, or was it just like a leg side sort of policy we were sort of bowling, or what was the drill?
There were probably, in the space of 5 overs, three leg side wides off the spinners that all went for 5. You know.
Right, okay.
That turned
revise them
and just that turned quite a lot. And you know, I was thinking whether I could do a slightly better job of getting to them, but it's, you know, tricky down the leg side. But it was one of those where on a different day that they hit the thigh pad, and you know, they might trickle for 1 or whatever. So there were just some of those that actually turned quite a lot and just went down. It wasn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like I say, it wasn't a dig at you, Joe, but
No.
It was just, you know, did they have 20? Was it 21 individual wides and they had 21 extra balls, that type of thing? Or
all right,
it's like, you know, it's only, that's
I reckon they're about 15. Yeah, there were 3 5 wides.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was. Now Chippy's resurfaced into the world. He messages me all the time about it, and he was going mental about these wides. and I said exactly the same as you just said there, Joe. It's in the old days we used to get bollocked, didn't we, Gary? That if we bowled 24 wides, well, they're getting an extra 4 overs. Well, it's not the case when it goes to 5, or in our days when it went for 4. But no, a really good game of cricket. And again, I think an advertisement for the Lancashire League is fantastic. And, they're a good side, Littleborough. No, none of those players out of the 22 there, were being carried. They all deserve, they're all good Lancashire League players. So it's just, like I said, it's a long way. It's a long time is this season. Some people are celebrating now because they beat us. Let's wait and see what happens. At the end of the season, there's an away fixture. There's a lot of other big games to happen. So let's see what happens over the next few months. Second team, again, I don't know if anyone could help me here, but it's fantastic performances over the last few weeks. They are in Division 2 now. But they've won all the games as far as I can see. Dooch, can you assist me whilst I just fire up a scorecard?
Yeah, they've won 3 out of 3 in the league, and they beat East Lancs in the cup on Saturday. They don't always play the same teams now, as obviously they used to back in our day with the league split. Sunday they were at Rottenstall. A few players missing for us, as is always the case with the second team. It's certainly the most challenging from my side of getting the teams out, because the team's a lot more unstable from a selection point of view. Skipper was away. Both Sims were missing. So Charlie Bithell has been leading the team while Deck's been away, and he's done very well. They defended a relatively low score at Rotstall on Sunday. I think it was about 170ish that Lowerhouse got batting first. And at one stage, it looked like Rotstall were gonna coast it. They got off to a very fast start, but then we started getting a few wickets, chipping away. We ended up bowling them out. So 12 points for the twos.
Shortcut got 5 for, didn't he?
Yeah.
I've got them up now, and the good performances that happen there. They're consistent. Some good players in there. Like you said, there's a few missing, but with Deck Metcalf now pushing, and he played over at Norden, didn't he, for us, and and Will Norcross as a steady enough player, and Keegan. So there is a good side there and a decent squad. So let's hope they can continue that and get promoted. I don't want to dwell too much on Saturday. Our first team played East Lancs in the Worsley Cup first round. A bit of a demolition, really, Joe Martin. Do you want to add anything? Do you want to talk about anything? I find it a bit sad, a club like East Lancs are in the position they're in, and they're getting absolutely smashed. I mean, that's a proper smashing, not a smashing where you get 6 points.
Yeah.
Proper smashing. What will you view? What the players' view on that?
I mean, we played very well. We obviously know that there's a difference in probably where we're at and where they're at the minute. So it was again a case of making sure that we did what we needed to, bowl well, don't go like searching for wickets or just expect to just bowl them out or whatever. With that, I mean, it's the same plan as usual. So again, executed really well. In those kind of games, anything can happen. So you've just got to make sure you do what you need to and do it well.
Yeah, and Dan's getting in the wickets quietly away into coming on, second, third, fourth choice, and he's getting a few wickets there. They ended up 138 all out, and we knocked them off in 14 overs. So it's
probably the leading wicket taker last year, Jez, I think, in the whole league.
Yeah.
So he takes some really important wickets as well. He's very, very, very impressive.
So let's go back to the Norden away game. Again, looked a good cricket pitch. Two really good sides. I think they've lost 2 good amateurs, which is obviously hampered their performance against us and maybe some of the other games. Comprehensive in the end, I think it's fair to say, Joe.
Yeah, I think so. We battered well. We got into some interesting positions as well, but we came through. Some really good performances with the bat again, with Ben getting 50 odd, Toxie batting well again, and Blaise coming in at the end and getting us to that kind of 250 score, which was really good. And obviously targeted you and Dooch at the end of the innings as well.
Yeah. I'm going to come on to that because I did, I was thinking their pro Jamil Stewart is, is a decent player. He can get big scores on his own, so it was nice to get over that 230 mark. And me, Chippy, and Dooch were sat down at long off as it was, all nice and comfy. And Blaise comes in, and it's like the Blaise of old starts smashing it. And Dooch actually said, "Listen, I've not got a chair here, so if he comes over this neck of the woods, then I'll sort it and make sure that because there were 2 or 3 balls that had gone into the housing estate, and we didn't want to lose any more. So when this one comes up, I actually said to Chippy, look, I'll catch this, Chippy. And Chippy said, no, Dooch will get it. He's behind us. And next thing you know, Dooch is under the chair, hiding from it. That about right, Dooch?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, fine. No problem.
What else?
I mean, imagine going to catch it and dropping it, though. I mean, it'd be well embarrassing, wouldn't it? I mean, you're better off just letting it bounce.
Yeah, I suppose so. So, but it's just reminded me now. I made a few notes on Sunday. We've got to have a shout out to Frankie, our legendary ex-pro and fantastic amateur that's just taken a bit of a sabbatical. For the people who weren't there or didn't see it, Frankie's walking around the pitch and he started, I think it's Jameson's and
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale, that's it, not iron brew. Jameson's and ginger ale. And he's walking down the length of the park end. One of all batters, it doesn't matter. It's a 6. It's not going into the park. Frankie, seriously, Gary, you probably won't see it on the frog box. He just stands there, waits for it, and it lands in his hand right next to him. He just sticks out his hand, waist high, catches it, and just throws it back on pitch.
Jez, he's the best catcher I've ever seen.
Right.
I mean, I hate to sound like Roy Keane, but that is his job, isn't it?
Well, one of
it is his job.
Well, not on Saturday, but he honestly, Jez, anything that goes up high, he used to get bored of it because he just found it so easy. So he would catch them one-handed, and
right.
left hand, right hand, catch them above his head, catch them low down, just because he found it so easy. It's like
it was funny, really.
He said he used to try and get as many claps in as possible. He used to do that in a game.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to him and he said he was a little bit disappointed because he did spill a bit of his ginger ale.
Yeah, I'd be more concerned about.
But I'm sure he'll get over that. So, a good win at Norden. It ended up they fell quite a bit short. I did think at one stage their pro.
Yeah.
Had timed his innings very well. I thought Joe, he was, batting, well around some of the batters, and then I think it was the number 7, number 8, Divine came in, and they looked like, he potentially could end up with 150, 160 and win it on his own. It was funny. Obviously, sat with Dooch and Chippy and a few others. And it did, Gary, reminded me a little bit of going back to the old West Indians that would play, whether it's Richards or Collis King or, Curty, these players that would just completely, I know this bloke's a West Indian, but completely take the game away from the opposition by smashing it. It was so different to see someone like that. But was he a nice fella, Joe? Was he?
Yeah, I know him anyway. I coached him.
All right, okay.
At Lancs. Yeah, he's a very nice chap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll ask him anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay, I seem to have flown through all that. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
I'd like to discuss, these are, slightly, but the threes and fours as well have obviously started.
Absolutely. Get it, get it out there.
The threes have had a really good start. I think um, they lost at the weekend, but I think they've won a couple of games before that, so they've had a really good start with some good performances in there. Jack's Edwards has got his maiden like 5-wicket haul and that kind of thing. So that's really good. And the fours, which are a really really young team run by Pinky, who came back to play last year, are having to play against different teams, and the last two games that they've played have really played against third and fourth teams, but they've also had some second teamers in, and both the second teamers have scored hundreds, which is really challenging for them because there's a reason not those people play in the seconds. And these are young kids just learning to play adult cricket and senior cricket, but they've stuck in really well. We try and give them a bit of a target, which is, can they stay in the game? Can they bat the 40 overs? And try and get close. If they get some points, then that's great. But it's just about their development, and they've done really well.
And Whitaker did well, didn't he,
You what? Sorry, Joe.
And Whitaker did well, didn't he, on Monday?
Yeah, fantastic. He batted really well. He got 80 odd, and batted brilliantly. It was really great to see. And he works really hard at his game. So that's and he got us really close, and we were close at the end, probably in the lost by teens really. And Josh Nelson.
Who was that, Joe? Joe, just give us the name again because we overspoke.
Yeah, Sonny Whitaker.
Brilliant.
In 15, and we have a young leg spinner as well called Josh Nelson. Who did really well as well. Took 3 for 40, I think. So
he's a leg spinner.
He is a leg spinner, in case you didn't know.
For the listeners, Joe was bowling leg spin on the screen.
But it is really good to see, and lots of improvement being made, and them just finding their way around senior cricket. So yeah, things are positive, really positive at the minute. It's good. And
it's good to hear, because we know that there's this machine that Stan churns out these players year after year from being real juniors, and yourself and your Paddy and Nigel Brown. There's got to be shout outs to these coaches, and I'm sure there's another dozen that you could mention, Joe. But it's not easy, you can't just keep going and having 6 or 8 players almost every year that are coming through. There is gaps, and we know there's gaps where you miss these players. So, and it's great for the youngsters and their families to watch that, and going down for a pint. So people, please, who are listening, have a look on social media. Frank sends out an email. Have a look on the Lancs League website, our website, as to when there are games down at the club. Might be thirds, might be fourths, might be under 15s, or any of the junior sides. Go and support them. The bar will be open. A few pints, and in this decent weather, go and give them a support. Joe, that's really, really helpful, that, and we need to do more around the juniors and the seconds and thirds, and we will get people on in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Even if we're winning, because we only pod when we win, so we can keep that going. I know a couple of people have got to shoot off, but I think we've got 5 minutes left. If I just go around people, Gav, did you have a late one Sunday? It looked like it were getting a bit heavy.
Not particularly late, but I'd done enough damage by the time I went.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, really good, good atmosphere. Like I say, just a bit disappointed that we lost, but no, it was a good atmosphere. Everyone seemed to be having a good time, and I think Bar took a bobber too, so that's always important, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I might as well throw it out there, because obviously Burnley were promoted prior to that, and Burnley football, such a great, games with Leeds just pipping them. But I could tell you and Matt Stanley had a day out as well, celebrating that. So it is good to see some good people there, and no dramas whatsoever. Gary, anything from yourself before we conclude this episode?
Only just comment on the Worsley Cup second round draw.
Yeah, good shout.
There's a rematch of last year's final. Todd at home, a good draw to get home draw, great. And that'll be a well attended game, no doubt. So hopefully we have a good result there. And two's away at Church on the same day in the junior knockout. So look forward to that as well.
Yeah, and people, please get it in your diary. Get yourselves down and support the lads on the in that second round of the Worsley Cup. It'll be as I'm frantically trying to find the date.
24th
of May. So people get down if you can. Get the lads, get behind them, and hopefully we can progress. As we've done quite well over the last few years. And I think it's worth mentioning about Ben's runs in the Worsley Cup. That's outstanding. The records that he keeps beating to get where he's got. And also, Joe, for the spectators, it's my understanding you've now got 99 stumped victims in the Lancashire League. Is that correct?
It could be. I don't think it's not far off. I don't think Adam mentioned it the other week.
I think it's 99. So if he stump, hang on a minute, incoming. We've had a pigeon drop a message. 98.
Well, actually, I mean, this is there's.
Come on, spit it out,
lad.
2010. There's a wicket against Ramsbottom I think it was Aaron Heel. He bowled Keith Webb out, but it was actually stumped. So, should be 99, but not to worry.
Not that you're counting.
No, and
long time ago.
And
I don't hold any.
And there must have,
although I remember it now. I can still remember it.
There must have been occasions where you've got a stumping and his foot was just on the line or just behind the line. So there's gives and takes.
All out,
gives and takes.
Only a few when
Dooch, over to you before we conclude this great episode.
Nothing particularly. Obviously, we've got the Friday night game away at Padiham this week. I don't know if this episode will be out in time, but we've got that to look forward to. Is that this Friday or is it next Friday? Joe? Next Friday. It's not even this Friday. Apologies. 16th, Friday the 16th, that is. A T20 friendly away at Padiham. This week's just Middleton, isn't it, on Sunday? So, yeah.
It was originally going to be on the 23rd, Joe, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd booked a concert.
But their league games, their league T20 campaign starts then, so we had to bring it forward a week.
Yeah.
Do you want to play in that friendly, Joe?
I'll play if I'm picked. Absolutely, no problem at all.
Okay.
But if you want to pick someone else, then crack on. But I'm available.
That's interesting. You're playing a friendly with all these games that are going on. We will start to preview the T20s. Again, have a look at social media. There's some great bands on down at the club after the T20 games, and it's always a massive occasion. So keep your eyes out for that. So we didn't plan to do one this week, but I'm really glad that we have. Because there has been some fantastic cricket, probably down to the weather, but also down to some good preparation of the pitches and some quality cricket. So thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget to send us messages, subscribe, and give us any feedback. It was interesting on Sunday. We were walking around the ground and a lot of people were saying how much they enjoy listening to the comments, certainly from the players' side, Joe. I know you don't give a lot away, but they do enjoy listening to what the players aspect is around it, and from Gav, Gary, and Ducha's point of view. So thanks everyone for listening. Please support the sponsors of the players and the sponsors of the club, and a big shout out to Birchall's, who are the club's main sponsors. And thanks everyone for listening.
Gordon, send more house to save the house.